Hey guys, Sky here. I'm just going to go over a Wrathstone build for Stamina Dragon Knight. This is a build I've been rocking for a couple patches now. It's really good. It's got a lot of sustain. It's got a lot of damage, and it's pretty survivable for a couple reasons that I'll go through. So, just to jump right in, we're using Bloodspawn. This is just the best set for StamDK. It's got a stam recovery line, it's got ultimate generation, and it's got resistances. Those are three things that synergize really nicely with the StamDK passives, since the more ultimates we use, the better we're doing on sustain, because of Battle Roar here. And then we're running Veiled Heritance, so we're running Veiled Heritance over 7th Legion and Fury because of the physical resistance line there, and I'll show you why. Aside from that, it's not a very stat heavy, like raw stamina health pools heavy like Fury is, but it still offers some pretty good stuff. The crit's really nice, weapon damage of course is great, and it's really easy to proc on StamDK because of all the dots that you're stacking on someone. Our second set we're running is Clever Alchemist, so we're running this because we want a back bar set, because we want our dual wield bar to be our main damage bar here, because we're running Master Dual Wield. It's strong, some people call it cheese. I'm not really going to disagree with you there. It's just a really good couple of weapons right now that synergize with this dot meta that we're seeing in Elder Scrolls Online these last few patches. So you're going to need to either craft Clever Alchemist jewelry pieces or transmute Veiled Heritance. I'm going through Robust. There's other options. If you are not a Nord, you can run protective jewelry. That's really strong right now. You can run a couple Swift, but I prefer Robust. It just gives us a little bit of that sustain, and it just, the more stamina you have, the more your vigor heals for, the more your rally heals for, that sort of stuff. So going over skills real quick, we got fossilize. This is an amazing CC. It's super cheap, it's undodgeable, it has an 8-meter range. It feels more like 2 meters, but it's really good. It goes through block, and then on top of that it immobilizes people after, so it forces a CC break and then a dodge roll, and that drains like 6k stamina from some people. So that's really good, especially against Magicka users, those that are left in Cyrodiil at least. Then we're running Rending Slashes, great dot, super cheap, 1620 stamina, huge damage over time. You can see that it's got a 10k tooltip for the dot, and I'm not even buffed up. And then it also puts a 40% snare on him, which is really nice because our warmth snare got nerfed to 30%. So then we got Venomous Claw. This guy does a ton of damage over time. It's super cheap, 746 stamina. It's just so cheap. It's amazing. It's good to just keep it up on everyone you can. Finally, our Glorious Spin to Win. Another kind of cheesy thing, but until Zos makes it so people can't just get into execute and dodge roll every other skill in the game for like an hour, I'm going to keep using Spin to Win, because it's really the only way to kill people when you're fighting outnumbered nowadays. You use Reverse Slice, or if you're on a Nightblade, you're using Killer's Blade. Even Mage's Wrath is a trash execute just because of how easy it is to dodge roll. So, then of course we got Vigor, Take Flight. You can use Dawnbreaker here as well, it's up to you. We're running Rally. It's our main burst heal, also a source of major brutality. It's really nice. You can see that 564% is what the final heal is increased by. It's a massive heal. When it crits, it'll hit you for 15-20k. Shuffle. This is Major Evasion, which is really strong this patch. They screwed over a couple classes, Stamplar, Magplar, and other classes that depend a lot on AoE damage, so it's really nice. Wardens as well. Their shocks hit for 25% less. Dawnbreaker's 25% less. It's really good. It's also our main source of snare removal. Also, we have our secondary source of snare removal, and really the skill that I've found makes medium StamDK work, and that's Reflective Plate. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive. At 3510 Magicka, it gives you immunity for snares for 2 seconds. So if you're really low on stam, you can actually just use this and not have to recast Shuffle and that can be really beneficial to sustaining because shuffle can be really expensive. And then it reflects 4 projectiles for 6 seconds. So that's not going to work when you're on 1v7, but it can completely take certain classes out of the mix for combat. So it's really good. Volatile armor. I like volatile pores to hardened armor just because it adds another little dot. It is a 10-second dot. It doesn't do a lot of damage on StamDK, but it's doing like 270, 300 damage or so. So it can be really good to just add a little bit more pressure. It also pulls Nightblades out of stealth without having to waste your stam pool trying to pull them out with Steel Tornado. And last but not least, we're using Carve. So this skill, I believe, is top 3 underrated skills in the game. It gives us minor heroism. It's an undodgeable bleed for 10 seconds. It's not a strong bleed, but it works. It's a good bleed, and it gives us minor heroism for 9 seconds, which once again synergizes with what we're trying to do with StamDK, and that is sustain through Battle Roar. And then we're running Corrosive on the back bar. Corrosive is really good. We don't use it a whole lot because 2 of our 4 damage skills are bleeds, so the resistances that are ignored by Corrosive aren't a huge deal, but it is nice, and it does make you a bit tankier. Unfortunately, 3% of your max health, while it sounds like every attack only being able to hit for that is really strong, just because of all the dots in Cyrodiil nowadays, you can still get melted pretty quickly with Corrosive up. And then just going into a couple other things on this build. So skills we're not using. So we're not using Fragmented Shield. This was hard for me to give up. It's kind of normally a staple in StamDK. Fragmented Rally, Fragmented Vigor is your burst heal. That Major Mending 25% is really strong, but it is a very expensive Magicka skill, and we're already pretty crowded for bar space here. Like you can see, we're not running Noxious either, just for bar space sake, and it doesn't hit anything because Zos doesn't really know how to make it hit anything, no matter how hard they try. So we're not running Noxious, we're not running Fragmented Shield, mostly for sustain purposes. Just Noxious doesn't do a lot of damage, and Major Fracture is really good, but I mean, you can be right up on someone and it's not going to hit them, and then you just wasted 1500 stam. So Fragmented, just once we take this off our bar, we're able to cast so many wings and so many fossilizes, and Volatile Armor is cheap on Magicka as well. So with 10.3k Magicka on this build, we're sustaining fine. Which brings me to my next thing. So different types of potions, right? So I'm mainly using tripods. I keep weapon crit around just in case I need to get rid of someone squishy real quick, but tripods are really going to be your go-to if I can keep them on my bar. So these are really good. They give us more than just the Magicka they give back. They give us 47 seconds of Magicka recovery buff, and that's just really good. So here, when we pop a pot, we've got 904 health recovery, 642 Magicka recovery, 1462 stamina recovery. This seems pretty low, and for some people who are used to playing with higher recovery, it might be low, and you might need to pop a recovery chant on one of your jewelries. That's totally fine. Me personally, I think it's good when you're trying to add a new build to start with just high recovery and be tankier, and then slowly start min-maxing your damage as you come into the build in the class and kind of learn what to cast and when, how not to overbuff, those sort of things. So that's really good. So race this patch, StamDK, we're ignored, and this is why. StamDK gets some great passives. Let me just find it right here. So we get 3300 spell resistance, and then we get 2906 if you have, I think I have 3 gold Veiled Heritage, so yeah, 2906 physical resistance. Well, that all adds up nicely, and in CP we got 5 points in spell shield, 10 points in medium armor, and here's why. And I'll also be able to show you the damage here as well on this build. We're in beautiful Cropsford in Cyrodiil. It's a great place. You guys should check it out. So, got our weapon damage enchant going. So, without continuous, we're getting 5k weapon damage with just clever up. So we're looking pretty good. A lot of damage in this guy, and then also if we go back and look at what our maximum resistance is, so this is when blood spawn procced. We are at the resistance cap. 32.5 is a soft cap for resistances, and we're in medium armor. It's insane. On top of that, we got 26.5 max health. So this is just a crazy amount of resistances. It makes us super tanky. So yeah, and we're at 5,500 maximum weapon damage. So things are really good on this build. It's a really good. It's tanky, it's mobile, and you know, you have kind of low sustain, but just you have such cheap skills and cheap heals that you can really kite with it and just take people down quickly, and you can passively drain them with fossilize and keep your dots up, and you chew through people. It's ridiculous. So I'm just gonna go through CP. I'm using the Warrior Mundus, by the way, and Artaeum, take away broth is my food. Dubious works fine if you're not a baller. If anyone wants to donate any of this to me, by the way, you guys know my @name. So, just kidding. Not. So CP, we got 51 Warlord, 1 Siphoner. You only need 1 for this debuff to proc. If you don't know, it's because it takes up purge spots, right? So Templar's Purge only can purge a certain amount of effects. Actual Purge can only purge a certain amount of effects. And then we've got 31 Sprinter, 6 Bashing Focus, just to reduce bash, just because, why not? So we got 56 Mooncav, 20 Arcanist, 32 Tenacity, 15 Healthy. So the reason we're running all these is because this is a really good passive. 2% speed, while it doesn't sound like a lot, it really synergizes nicely with our medium armor speed buffs that we get, and also increasing your health and magic recovery by 10% while sprinting is also pretty good. So, and then come over here, we got 51 Tumbling, 7 Shadow Ward, 19 Blessed, 72 Mastered Arms, 19 Physical Expert, 44 Precise Strikes, 34 Thom, 39 Piercing, 43 Mighty. So that's our CP. And then just last thing for enchants, one thing that I've changed is I went Nern Sharp as opposed to Nern Infused. And then we are also doing Poison and Absorb Stam. We're not using a Befoul Glyph. The reason is because as a StamDK we have this passive called Combustion, so when we apply poison we restore 500 stamina. It can happen every 5 seconds. Well, the only poison skill that we're using, since we're not using poisons, is Venomous Claw, because we're not using Noxious. I guess if you got a Corrosive up you could do that as well. So Venomous Claw on application, it's actually only a 10% chance, and that's only on the application. And then the dot, single target dots, are only a 3% chance to proc poisoned. But our poison enchant is a 20% chance to proc poison. So that's why we're running that. And then weapon damage on the back bar. This just has to do with the nerf that went to the dual wield enchants. It's just better to get the weapon damage on your back bar this patch. So that's all I got for you guys. We're running full impen with a lot into resistance, so we're at 3120 crit resist, which is a ton, and 32.5 max resistances, and then 5,500 weapon damage. You'll get up to 6k if you have continuous as well. So just a lot of damage, a lot of sustain, a lot of tankiness. It's everything a Dragon Knight's about. On top of that, you get to be kind of unconventional, running 2-hand dual wield, and you get to stack a bunch of dots on people and then fossilize them and then say goodnight to them with some Steel Tornado action. So anyways, just let me know. This is my first build video. Hope you guys liked it. Hope I went over things pretty clearly.